All right, in this video, we're going to go over this Quiz B example where we're looking at the year and these increases in the postage rates. All right, so we're going to go ahead. We decided that year explains rate, so we made year our X variable and rate our Y. We've typed them into our calculator. I did not, Douglas. Wow, good start here. I didn't, so hopefully you have. I was waiting on Victor anyway. Hopefully you're already making the scatter plot. And we're ready. If you haven't done the diagnostic on, make sure you do that as well. Second stat plot. All right, we're going to turn the first one on. All right, so we'll turn it on. We're already doing list 1 explains list 2. So we're good there. So graph, zoom, 9. Whoa. Okay, wow. Yeah, wow, very linear. Stop. Don't ever say that. Right? Had a lot of students get upset with me when I get back their quizzes in period 8 because they were dealing with absolutes. It can be, absolutely, if the slope has to be 1 or -1. This is not. The R will be close to 1, but it will not be 1. All right, but definitely strong. We all agree. If you want to, go on a limb here, very strong is probably okay. Linear and positive. So I'm going to write down there is a. There is a positive, linear, strong, okay, association between year and all right, now the check that I do at this point is it appropriate or is it okay to actually make the model? Is it okay to make a linear regression model? And the answer is yes. Why is it yes, Victor? Because we use what word? Nope, because we use what word? Linear. If it's linear, it's okay to make the model. All right, I'm not asking you if it's appropriate to make the model, right? Or to use the model, which we'll get to later. I'm asking is it okay to actually just make it in the first place, right? And if it doesn't say linear, if you put curved or not linear, then you're not doing that. You shouldn't. All right, we'll learn in chapter 10 what we have to do first before we can actually make it then. So now I'm going to go to stat, calculate, and I choose number 8 for linear regression, A plus BX. It's number 8. So hit number 8. All right. I'm not going to store this one, so I'm not going to end up using it. So I'm just going to hit down to calculate. Yes, we figured it would be really close to 1 because it did look very strong. All right, so my R, does it ask me to write R? No. All right, but R is 0.995. I'll write it to the side, which that confirms the strong. Let's write down R squared because I'll talk about that since you have to know that for the quiz on Wednesday. 0.9895, so 0.990, so also very strong. All right, so let's write down our model. So we have rate hat equals negative 19.93 plus 0.01 times the year. Now, there's a ton of room here, and so I'm going to answer some of the questions that you're going to have to answer on the quiz on Wednesday. I don't know if I said it to this class. I'll say it now if I haven't already. The quiz on Wednesday, you will not have to type in anything. All right, you won't even need the calculator. Okay? I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to give you the scatter plot. I'm going to give you the model. I'm going to even give you the residuals plot. All right? You got to answer all those questions like, is it appropriate to use this model? What does the slope mean? Interpret the y-intercept. Those kind of questions. Luis, question. Okay. Let's see what happens. You get the same R. Okay, that looks good. Did you get Zoom 9? Yeah. Did you? No, you didn't. Okay. All right. So let's start with my first one that I'll probably ask on the quiz, which is interpret the slope. Does anyone want to give it a try? Interpret the slope. I guess the first question is, what's the slope? Excellent. It's always the number in front of your x. In this case, x is year. So who wants to give it a try? Who wants to interpret the slope? You have to do this on Wednesday for that grade. Who's got it? Who's got it? Right. On record. I'm recording, so forever this answer. You'll be 65 years old. You'll still hear this.
Okay, so I think
Thomas.
I think that the slope means that for every year, the postal rate increases by 0.01
dollars. Okay, so we could also say by 1 cent. All right, so I'll say for each increase.
There's a lot of pressure, sir.
All good. In 1 year, I expect. Are they on the back? Douglas. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I thought it was just the front. Let's do 4. Look at that. Gosh, Maria, what would I do without you? I would be lost. All right, so for each additional year. Notice I'm using those weasel words, right? I expect, right? Don't get into trouble on Wednesday, right? Like you might have gotten into trouble on last week's quiz on chapter 7, right? Keep it as generic as you can. So I expect the postal rate to go up by 1 cent. If you wanted to, you could say for each decade, right? Each decade, I expect the rate to go up by 10 cents, right? You could do that for every century. You expect it to go up by $1, right? It's your choice. I'm not really concerned about that. I will say most students will just use the actual slope here, so 1 cent. Everybody good with that? Yeah. Okay, let's do 5. Interpret the y-intercept. So here is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is negative 19.93. Who wants to interpret that for us in context? Eduardo.
The y-intercept represents the initial cost of the postal rate at year 0.
Year 0. Great. Does that make a whole lot of sense?
No.
Probably not, right? Not in year 0. So we're going to write down that in year 0, the postal rate was negative $19.93. And you don't have to write this, but I'm going to put down, this makes no sense. Again, you don't have to put that on the quiz if that's the case. All right, we have the correlation. It was R equals 0.99. Was it 4? 994. 995, my bad. 995. Okay, what was R squared again? Did I say 0.990? Okay. So the way I write this, and I'll do this one for us, is that I'm going to say 99% of the change in our y can be explained by our change in our x. Man, just ruining the flow. Gosh. Just, in the middle of teaching, but that's okay. All right, so we're going to say 99% of the change in the postal rate can be explained by the change in year. Guys, that's so close to 100% that I'm not even going to do the that task of what we did with the flight example, where I was trying to think of what are other things that could drive the price of a flight. I mean, 99% is it's so close that there's really nothing else, right? It's just year it's going on here. Okay? Now, before I get into the last question, I want to just answer and go back to number 3. I know I skipped 3, all right? But this question number 3 is asking, do you think a linear model is appropriate here? All right, and really this is kind of, I'm going to answer this in 2 ways. Really, it's only asking, do you think it's okay to run a linear model? And what did we say?
Yeah.
What did we say? We said yes, and why did we say yes?
Because it's linear.
Right, because the form is linear. And if you want to write that it was also, the strength was very strong, that's fine. But really, it's just that it's linear. I'm going to go one step farther, all right? And so this is really another question where I'm asking the question, is it appropriate then to use the model? All right, so we've got the model, we made it, it's right here. Here's our model, all right? Is it appropriate to use this if we wanted to plug in a year and it spit out the projected postal rate? All right, so what do we have to do to check that? The residuals, very good. So I'm going to turn my calculator back on, and I'm going to do the residuals plot. Again, you won't have to do this on Wednesday. I'll give you the residuals plot, but you will need to actually look at it and decide if it's appropriate to use this model. And what am I looking for in the residuals plot? Literally nothing, a cloud, okay? I'm looking for no pattern. If I see no pattern in the residuals plot, then I'm good to go to use the model. What if I see a pattern? It's not okay to use that one, okay? So go to second, stat plot. Go back to plot number 1. And the only thing I ever change with this for the residuals is go to the Y value. Instead of list 2, I'm going to go down to it, hit second stat, which is list. So you can tell the calculator to use the residuals. All right, so now hit graph again, hit zoom 9. What do you guys think?
Cloud.
Looks like a cloud. So is it appropriate? You betcha. So the residuals plot showed no pattern. So it is appropriate to use this model. Yes, Eduardo.
When we have answers on the test, we need to use both conditions, like the for being linear.
The question, you can just answer the question. So like on this one, I wouldn't have to do the second one. I just want to make sure you're comfortable doing that because I will ask you to do it on the quiz. So technically to answer this question, do I think a linear model is appropriate? And the answer is yes. The question that I would ask for this one is it appropriate to then use that model? So I want you to think of it as like 2 separate things. Yeah. Okay, let's answer the last question. Would it be better for customers for a year to have a negative? I'm sorry, Thomas, go ahead. Oh, you want to answer it? Let me do a few things before we answer it, okay? Let's make sure we know the formula for the residual. All right, this is a formula you're going to have to know for the AP exam. All right, and it's not going to be given to you. Do you remember the formula, Thomas?
No.
Okay. Very good. Observed minus predicted. That's Catherine with a K. If you're listening at home. Nice. Okay. Now it's up to you on. I'm gonna let Thomas answer here for a second, or in a second. I'm gonna let you answer, Thomas. I will say that for my students in the past that have had trouble with answering these types of questions, is I tell them as a hint, it's just to make up numbers, right? If that helps you, all right. Sometimes it's helpful just to like, okay, let's make up a postage rate here, all right. So it's up to you, all right. So Thomas, what do you got?
I think it would be better to have a negative residual because that means the price is going down, right?
Okay, let's see. So negative residual. So that means our observed. So let's make up a rate here. Well, so 2 cents, or it's very small, right? What was the data?
1 cent.
Let's just use 15 cents. So 15 cents minus 18 cents. That would give me a negative number, right? Okay, so that means that actually the postage rate for whatever year this is, the actual rate is 15 cents. Okay? When the model is predicting it should be what? It should be higher, 18 cents. Is that good for us, the consumer? Yes, it is, because we're paying less than what the model thinks. So I think your explanation was not correct, right? I think in this case, we need to say that we want a negative residual because then we're actually paying less than the model thinks we should pay for our mailing of first-class items. Yes. I just made them up. Yeah.
Does the second number always have to be more?
No. So what if Thomas would have said, so I'll do a little thing. What if he had said a positive makes sense? Okay, give me a number.
11.
Thank you. Okay, you good with that? So that would be a positive number, right? So that means what are we paying? We're actually paying 11 cents. What does the model think we should be paying?
9 cents.
So we're doing what that year? We're overpaying. So in this case, when it says which one will be better for the customers that are using the postage rate, right? We want a negative residual because that means we're actually paying less than the model thinks we should be. So I'll write that down. So negative because we would pay less than the model thinks we should. Right? And so in this scenario, a negative residual is what made sense for us, the consumer. All right? But that's not always the case. So just take a moment, think about the context of the problem, because it may not be true. It might actually be better to have a positive residual. All right? Are there any questions about this? These are the questions you'll be seeing on the quiz on Wednesday. Thomas, yes?
So on Wednesday, it's literally just 3 through 8 with all the info provided, and we do no math.